So, starting off with this. That's no good.
And that's not good.
I'm gonna explain what this is and what I tried to do to combat it. Combat it? I don't know. Anyway, okay, so this, from what I could research and from what I could figure out, but I am by no means a master, I'm still learning as I go, this is called dunting. And dunting is when, at least in my case, I had a whole series of plates and they would always crack, but right around where the wall of the plate meets the floor. And I was stumped as far as why it was doing that. So, I'm going to explain to you what I did to try and fix this problem, at least for this series of plates. Because I've made lots of plates in the past, I've never seen this happen ever. So, and I've been throwing for quite a while. So, I show you what I do. I start off by just throwing a regular plate. You know what? Screw it, I'm going to switch angles. Okay, so what I did is I start off by throwing just a regular plate. So this is, I would consider a lunch size plate. It's obviously going to shrink, obviously going to shrink a little bit after bisque firing. That's what this is. I should have videos before of me throwing these plates. What I was doing is I was making a set of dinnerware plates for a wonderful lady, and thank goodness she has a lot of patience with me, and she goes, oh, no problems, because I kept having the dunting thing happening, and I didn't know what the heck was going on. So I would start off by throwing plates. Thickness is all the same. It's got a nice foot. I don't need a center part because it's not a huge plate. It's just a sandwich plate. This turned out fine. Went through the first firing, bisque fired, cone 04, no problems. And I'm just using stoneware, so nothing fancy, not porcelain or anything like that, something durable. So what would happen after I would glaze this plate in the series I was making for her, I did large dinner plates and then smaller lunch plates. So here's the size difference. The large dinner plates I had absolutely no problems with. I glazed them with the same colors. I brushed on about 2 coats of oatmeal, and then another 1 to 2 coats of indigo float, and then I would do a swirl of seaweed along the rim and then kind of following this little finger groove that I would put in these plates as I was throwing them. And the backside I did not put as much down because I did find out that the centers of all my plates would drip as I was firing and it would get all over my kiln shelves, so then I had a lot of grinding in my future. So, dinner plates, they turned out all fine. She wanted 8, she's got 8. My sandwich or lunch plates, I wanted 8, obviously to match. And out of about 15 I made, 3 of them survived. So as you can tell, I was a little bit on the not happy side. So then I kept experimenting with my glazing because I researched what dunting was.
Dunting is a special type of crack, which occurs from stresses caused during firing and cooling. Most dunting, however, is caused in cooling. These cracks appear as long, clean, batty cracks with sharp edges. If the ware is glazed, the glaze edges are sharp. They may be vertical, or horizontal, or spiral.
And I figured, oh, it means your glaze body is not playing nice with your clay body? And I'm like, but I've done this hundreds of times before with plates, bowls, coffee mugs, and I've used this same glaze combo countless times. So what I did is, after many trial and errors, I realized one of my mistakes was these plates are a little bit smaller than the dinner plates. They could fit inside my 5-gallon pail of oatmeal glaze. So to make things faster, instead of brushing on 2 layers, I'm a fan of dipping and spraying and pouring. So I just took my tongs and I dipped these plates into the bucket. 1 or 2 seconds, I found out that was probably still too long as compared to brushing on a thin coat of oatmeal underneath everything, because what happened is the glaze would pool and it would get thickest at where the rim of the plate meets the floor. And then I noticed after a while, and this was days after it happened, one long drawn out video, but you see that big line? That's not good.
And that's not good.
And it happened on the majority of the plates that I had made, but it only happened a few days after I had taken them out of the glaze firing. So then I was really stumped, because it's like, well, what the heck? I'm working out in the garage, and all of a sudden we heard this big pop, like firewood drying from being inside. And I looked over, and then I would see cracks similar to this one. So then I would pick up the plate and No, it won't break. Redo. So I would take the plate, check it out, and they would all break, but right around the rim. I'm looking at the thickness of my glaze, so instead of dipping these plates, then I started brushing. The silly thing is it was happening again, so I figured, okay, maybe I'm brushing on too many layers, because again, it would just happen around the whole heckin' thing. Whoa. And a lot of them, that's how they'd break. So that's why what happens when your plates are breaking on the rim, they call that dunting. Why it's called that name, I have no idea. After figuring out it must be my glaze application because the colors work fine for everything else, so then what I did for applying glaze to this is I used the same 3 colors. I used oatmeal, I used indigo float, and then I used seaweed, but I really thinned up the layers. And these still match the original 3 that survived. They're just a hair different, but these really look no different than when I fired them in different spots of the kiln. The lower in the kiln I fired, the more of the darker greens and a little bit darker blue would pop out. The higher in the kiln, a little bit lighter, like sometimes the seaweed will get nice and light. Ah, here it is. So one more. That's no good.
And that's not good.
Hopefully that helps you a little bit with dunting. Hopefully I explained that. If you have any questions, let me know. Thanks.